All right, Steve, we're ready when you are.
Thank you, Jonathan. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Fire Department Facilities Project Building Committee. It is April 15th, and it is 6:32. If you could please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag
To the flag
of
of the United States of America,
and to
to the republic for which it stands,
one nation,
one nation,
under
under God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
and
with
liberty
liberty and justice for all.
Let's see. I will do the roll call. Stanley Sobieski,
Here.
Teresa Avey,
Here.
Chip Stam. I didn't see him. He's absent. Stephen Woods, I'm here. Don Brown,
Here.
Cassidy McNamara,
Here.
and Chris Minor is online. Okay, let's see. Brings us right to public participation, which we usually have.
You guys want to make nothing here, Steve.
Nobody in the room? Okay. Next item is comments by committee members. Anyone? Anything? Nothing? We have approval of minutes next, which is
Make a motion to approve the minutes of 18 March.
Second.
all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion passes unanimously. Old business is the next item. A review updated conceptual design options and cost estimates for fire station number 4. I know Jonathan sent out an email with the updated budget, and he also let everybody know that Bob Roach is on vacation this week, so he couldn't be here with us. But has everybody had a chance to kind of go through it? And if yes, what are their comments, concerns, questions?
So, Steve,
Yep.
so the bottom line, again, I just want to make sure I'm understanding that number, the $7.3 million, that's if we were to break ground today, or is that a projected cost for a year from now?
That's a projected cost. That has I think 4%
Good.
inflation factor.
Okay, good.
Okay. Anyone else?
I don't know if you guys read the one that was sent in the email, but Don, the add alternate cost for the columns being taken out and a beam, it
Yep.
was like $77,000. So I think that's a good change to make to this.
I thank you for bringing that up. I also, in my mind, it's one of those things, and let's call it an $8 million project, to spend $74,000 to eliminate a potential problem makes sense to do it now, because it's not something we can revisit after the fact.
Mhm.
You know, a standing seam roof, we could choose to, or the town could choose to change the roof 20 years from now to a standing seam roof. The planters and things like that can be done after the fact. But if we build this building with those columns are there forever. And I think it is in the best interest of this project to eliminate those columns.
I agree.
Anybody else want to chime in on that?
Steve?
With Jonathan?
Yep.
Yeah, go ahead, Jonathan.
Oh, I didn't have any.
That was me, Steve. It's Chris.
Oh, I'm sorry, Chris. Go ahead.
Yeah, the only comment I would have, similar to Donald, is I agree with the columns. I also agree that, in my opinion, the metal roof as well as the radiant heat should be included as part of this package for maintenance and cost of longevity for maintenance. I think both make sense to add to the project. I would hate to see, unfortunately, historically, what we do, just trying to cut it too tight and paying for it later. So I think those are both important adds to consider as we come up with a final number to present to the council.
Can I make a suggestion on the alternates? I don't disagree with what anybody's saying, but I think they should be bid as ad alternates. So if the money's available, we'll have the option to do it. But if the thing comes in over 7.3 million or 7.4 million, adding these back actually would be almost 0.76 million. If we add these back in, it'd be harder to cut it back out. So it's easier to add it in as long as we bid it at the time of the project when it goes out to bid. So it would be, again, these would all be ad alternates. I think it's the best way to do it personally.
Maybe even as a deduct though, because if you're gonna put that cost as our budget, then it gives us less of a chance to put that back in if we do need it. So we'd rather deduct it if we don't have enough money. Because if it's budgeted, it's gonna come in more when people do budget this. It's an estimate, but likely it's gonna be more. So I'd say we do it in opposite and we do it as a deduct. So that we have allotted costs that are more rather than less.
Oh, I see. You want to do that particular one as a deduct?
Yeah.
And same with the metal roof and the radiant flooring?
Yeah, that way it's more money. So if we don't have the money for it, then we can deduct it. But asking for the money, the budget's not going to come in as exactly what we want. It's probably going to be more.
And it's
Yeah.
almost value engineering at that point, metal roof versus asphalt shingle, radiant heat versus no heat, I think you could almost go on a value engineering process at that point.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest with you. From what I can see, reviewing this bid, and of all of the numbers that we've got here in front of us, there's not a lot of places to cut. It just isn't. So it's going to be difficult if it does come in over budget. It's going to be very, very difficult to get it back in line, I think, because pretty much everything in that building we need. I don't think anybody's going to argue that point. We just, we need to make sure we can sell this to the community that they're willing to pay for it. I would think that they would. Who doesn't want fire safety, right? That and your police and the ambulance are like priority number one for public safety. So, Jonathan, are you okay with what we're proposing?
So of doing it as an alternate, but
Yeah, so it would be a deduct alternate.
okay, as deduct all, yeah, sure.
So it'd be a deduct alternate for the radiant floor slab. The EFS we're already doing, I believe, so that's not an issue. The exterior planners, that's not an issue. We could do that at any time. The standing metal roof. And
And then the columns in the
columns,
back.
correct. And then the columns.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay. So we can get Bob to revise this, to make these deducts on the bid. That way they'll be included in the base bid, but there'll be a number carried out for that. So that we know what the savings would be if in fact we can't afford it.
No problem.
Anybody else?
So
have-
then, I mean, I guess that was sort of just sort of moving this along. Once we have that, would we have one more meeting in which you formally make a recommendation to move this forward to council? Is that the kind of
That's what I would think we should do.
forward?
Yeah,
Okay.
we should have Fryer put this together for us. And then technically we can meet next Thursday, I believe, right? That's our next scheduled meeting. It's the 3rd, and Wednesday,
It-
4th,
it-
Thursday.
It is, I actually won't be here on that Thursday night. I mean, make of that what you will. I can still do the minutes later and we can get somebody else to run the Zoom part.
Okay, yeah, I mean, it should be a pretty short meeting. I think we can handle it, Jonathan, as long as you're okay with that.
Sure. I think it's based on Teresa just helping me out. She seems to know how to work the machine pretty well. So I think you're in good hands.
Okay. Well, that's good. Thank God we have Teresa, right?
I do have a question.
Yeah, go ahead,
How are
Teresa.
how are we gonna sell this to the townspeople? We are going through everyone's losing their mind over the taxes. We had at one of the public hearings, you had a fire commissioner come up and say that the town council has to be fiscally responsible in their spending, and now we're asking the townspeople to okay a 7-point-something million project. Like we saw there was 30 people, one public hearing about taxes. Is it something that, do we wanna go do it as a standalone referendum after the election when people have calmed down a little over taxes? Like I just think you're asking a lot.
Yeah, first of all, that would be a council decision when they decide to put it out. We don't get involved in that. The town at one point will have to become neutral, and it doesn't really promote it or come out against it. It just gives the facts of the project, and the town people have to decide what's done. It's an expense, and but it's one that's been coming for 10, 15 years, 20 years or longer.
Yeah.
The easiest way for me to sell this to the public, if I had to sell it, is that we have found, help me, or Chris, 140 members. How many members we have in the fire department? Approximately.
Chief?
120, Stu.
Okay, so we have 120 volunteers that are active, and there's probably several people who are not active but still involved that donate their time to save this town an ungodly amount of money and fire safety. So it should be an easy sell, but it's going to be an expense. And again, it depends how long the council wants to borrow the money for, what it would do to the tax rate.
See, in my opinion, Teresa, for what it's worth,
Yeah.
is that our apparatus, the new stuff will not fit into this house. The other engine's pretty much ready to go. So either you shut the house down and you don't have any fire coverage up there, because none of the other engines fit there.
Yeah.
And that to me is a primary issue there. Do we want to put public safety at risk? That's how I would sell it.
Yeah, we don't have a spare apparatus that fits there right now, so if that engine goes out again, there's no coverage in that area. Or it's
And
delayed.
How many calls does the firehouse do in a year?
Chief, you want to take that?
We do over 1,000 calls in town a year, and at any time, any company can go out to any one of those calls. Depending on the call, it could be a house fire, it could be a board alarm, it could be a million different calls, but we do 1,000 calls a year for the fire department. And that's just fire calls. That's no EMS, that's no nothing, that's just fire calls.
The other thing I think we have to also consider for the people who live up there, if the town decided to abandon this firehouse, their insurance costs would probably increase greatly because your service time to get there is going to be much longer. I believe it is-
Just on that, back when that firehouse was built back in 1950s, the taxpayers are the ones that actually fought to get that firehouse in the neighborhood. Unfortunately, that's, if something was to happen, we'll say on New Britain Avenue over by Stam Road area, there's no other way to get into that neighborhood except go around through New Britain and come in the back way. So that's the one reason why that firehouse was built where it is, because it takes care of that neighborhood very well. and the taxpayers are the ones that really wanted that there.
I mean, I think it's time. We've updated every building that the fire department has. Maybe not up to 2026 standards, but we've spent money on upgrading them as we move forward. And this building, I don't believe has been neglected, but I think it's always been the hope of the fire department that it gets replaced so it would be more compliant with today's needs. And we're finally at that point. You know, the council's agreed to form the committee. And the feedback that I'm getting from the council members I talked to, that they want to put it out to referendum. So, you know, I guess it rests on the taxpayers. But again, this is an easy vote yes for me.
Steve, just one question on the actual cost estimate. Does that cost estimate include F&E, or is that just building?
Only $25,000, chief.
Okay,
Because
so
most of the stuff is built in. You've got beds and desks, you know,
yeah,
there's not much that doesn't come with a firehouse, the way it's spec'd out. You know, the lockers, the showers, all that stuff will be there. It's really just the bunks for your members to sleep on and any office desks, file cabinets that you would need. So we carry 25,000.
And one other question I have is the radiant slab that they have proposed. Is there any way we can get some information on that? I mean, it's not, it's radiant, it's a radiant slab, not radiant heat like we're used to in our firehouses. So it's a different technology.
No, so well, it's a little bit different technology. In years past, probably what you have in your older firehouses, if you have it, is copper tubing. That's what they used to use. Now they use PEX, but it's a concrete slab. Prior to the concrete being poured, they lay a whole network tubing that just loops back and forth. They actually put it in a grid. And then your boiler just pumps warm air through that, and that's how the house gets heated.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, we're used to, so we have tubes that are hang off our ceilings with natural gas now, and the radiant heat actually pushes down versus a slab. So that's the only reason I asked that, in the cost is what I was looking at. That's all.
Yeah, so that there won't be anything like that in there. When you could walk around barefoot in the wintertime and your feet would be warm in the firehouse. Okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
I also had one more thing.
Sure.
I believe on that cost estimate, it said residential kitchen equipment. And the other, like company 2, company 3, they all have commercial equipment. Is there a way we can get a price for like a commercial grade oven or that kind of stuff?
We could take a look at it, Cassidy,
Yeah,
and see what it
I
would
don't know how
cost.
big the kitchen will be able to fit that kind of stuff, but if we're
Yeah,
upgrading a firehouse, we might as well upgrade that.
I'm assuming you're only going to have a 30-inch stove there, because the kitchen isn't that big. But I'll
Yeah.
check with Fryer and what we can find out what that would cost. Anything else?
I just one thing, just to go back to Teresa's question, it's worth pointing out that, again, once council authorizes the referendum, then the sort of non-advocacy period starts, and this is where I'm a little confused, and I would like some clarification. When we went through the swimming pool thing, that meant that if members of council and staff, and really it's on more staff than anybody else, weren't allowed to sort of have an opinion about it. We couldn't advocate for it. Council in their meetings wasn't allowed to say, vote yes or vote no. What I don't know is a little bit of gray area is what, if any, restrictions would be on members of a volunteer fire department as far as advocating for or against to members of the fire department, do you guys have any insight into that?
I don't think there would, Jonathan. I think there, if it's just like I would be free to advocate for it as Stephen Woods, a resident of the town of Newington. I couldn't speak on behalf of the committee, but I could speak for myself, you know.
Could Chief Traumer, would he be in any way bound by
Yeah, I
anything?
think he would be able to because it's not a paid position. You know, if
Okay.
he was paid fire chief, maybe different.
Okay,
Yeah, Jonathan, I wouldn't have that answer for you yet. I have to do research on that, to be honest with you, on the fire
Okay.
department side. That would be probably a James question.
yeah,
I'm not 100% sure on that. We've never run through it before, to be honest with you.
okay. Yeah, just something for us to just look into before we get the green light.
Yeah, you know,
Absolutely.
Jonathan, it could be something similar to what we
Yeah.
did with the 8-24 on Connecticut K-9, you know, sometimes it's perception. And perception can become reality, so you want to err on the side of caution, but.
And I know from the pool referendum question, we had many property owners that wanted to vote and they were very upset that they couldn't. They didn't live
Oh,
in
right.
town.
Yeah,
In the way the charter is written, they weren't allowed to vote, being a property owner and taxpayer.
Yeah. Okay, interesting.
Yeah, that's interesting because a lot of towns allow that.
Right, but the way our charter is written, it uses voter and not elector or vice versa.
Yeah,
We had to get a ruling.
yeah, because I own some property in East Haddam and I can vote on everything except for general elections. So I can vote on town budgets, board budgets, fire department, school, but I can't vote for individuals
Right.
unless I'm a resident. Okay.
Steve,
Yes.
can you just go over what the next steps are? So Friar's got to do the update based on what we talked about tonight.
Correct.
And assuming we vote next week to move this to the council, is there then a meeting with between us and the council? Is there a public hearing? Is there, what are the next steps?
I would have to go back to see how this particular ordinance is written, but typically we would go back as a body and make a presentation to the council to move this forward and answer any questions they had. And then at that point, we're basically done until they put it out to referendum. Other than answer any questions that they ask of us.
Okay,
And I
thank
mean,
you.
just to add to Steve's, I did send out a kind of a 3-page document that walks through all the steps that James Krupinski, the town clerk, does put together. And I can resend that to you, Donald, if you don't have it, but you have to authorize a ordinance and then you have to draft the language for the resolution, for the referendum, et cetera, et cetera. There's like 5 little hoops you have to jump through before you're ready to go.
Bond referendum timeline, is that the document?
Yeah, that's the one. Yep.
I've got it. You don't have to resend it to me.
Okay.
Thank you, though.
Anybody have anything else on this? Okay, so we'll meet next Thursday and hopefully wrap this up.
Wait a minute, Steve, you got, Eddie Patz has got a question.
Yep, go ahead.
So I was hoping Bob was going to be here, didn't know he was going to be on vacation, but I did have a question in regards to the plans that were given out at the last meeting. If you're looking at the picture that's looking at the front of the firehouse where the bay doors are, they do have it marked at 14 feet or a 14-foot mark, but the garage door itself is less than that. And I could have sworn they said it was going to be 14-foot doors. So that may just want to be a question for Bob before we
Want me to pull that up? Just so everybody can see.
I can double check that, but Bob did say there were 14-foot doors.
Yeah, like I said, I noticed it on the plan looking carefully at the plan, that like I said, there is a 14-foot mark, but the
That's
door is
what it-
less than that, so.
That's where the second floor is. That's the
Correct,
one.
but again, wouldn't the garage door
14
indicate
foot.
that it's a 14-foot door? I just want to make sure it's a 14-foot door and not a 12-foot door, that's all.
It says second floor, that's what I'm looking at, then it says third floor, then the roof line, so that would be the elevation.
Yeah. So
Where
it's
you-
not-
Ed, are you talking about
No, the
width?
doors aren't 14 foot.
Are you talking about width or height?
Height,
Height,
Height, okay.
doors aren't 14 foot, that's for sure. They're probably 12.
I
The
think-
dotted line is where the floor would be for the second floor for the offices and you know, the kitchen and everything up there. And then the 23 foot would be where basically the attic is. The
Okay.
ceiling line there and then the attic above it.
again, I just wanted to make sure that the doors itself are 14. That's all.
We could find that out.
Yeah, we'll confirm that with.
Thank you.
Okay.
So Steve, so that would be 14 by 14 is what we're saying, right? Doors?
Correct.
Okay.
Again, I don't know if that's what's proposed. We'll have to find out.
Yeah, okay.
Because I know your height restriction for legal road use is 13.6. You have to be under that. And to be honest with you, you need to be quite a bit under that because most of the wires are below 13.6.
Yeah, so our ladder trucks are close to they're 11.6. So when you start going to 12 feet, it kind of gets a little hairy when you start.
Yeah,
going back
usually
in.
won't take out power, but you'll take out phone lines or cable lines. But occasionally, if you go through, you'll take out power. You know, especially on the opposite side of the CLP or Eversource pole, where it starts to dip down. But I'll check with Bob. Bob is, again, he's off this week, but back Monday. So I'll make sure that he checks that. So we have no new business. Public participation. There anybody in the public there?
Yep. Joe Harpy's here.
Okay. Welcome, Joe.
Well, first of all, I want to say that collectively, I think you guys have done a real good job in terms of the budget that you've drawn down on this. I don't know if the word is correct to say concern, but I think that 10% contingency seems to be thin to me, especially where you have alternates that you're going to be looking at. You could eat through that in a hurry. And the other point, I want to make sure that I understand this correctly. Is there less than 2 acres of land that we're doing this on?
There's a lot less than 2 acres.
It's like half an acre.
Because I thought you had
It's
to
half
reach
acre.
a mark. Well, I thought on these dimensions, I don't have them in front of me, but from recollection, that you really need something in the area of 3 acres to do what the architect is proposing we can do. It just looks like a tight fit, but I'm sure you've run over the numbers with them. And the last thing, I would agree with Teresa on the referendum issue. There's no doubt that it's not worthy and that you guys work real hard at doing what you do. But I would say that I lived through a case here called the police department, and they worked real hard on the law and order dynamic, and they lost the referendum. And Plan B didn't exist, and it was a scramble. It was a scramble. And the police lost a lot of amenities on that first referendum that they could have used. And I was not involved in that other than being a citizen and voting on things I voted for the first time around, but it didn't work out. But this looks very good, and I appreciate the effort that's been made on it by all of you. Thank you.
Joe, too, hopefully you can hear me, that there is a 10%, that's the owner's contingency. There's actually a design contingency that we still have at this phase. And there's also a contractor's contingency, so the number's a little deceiving. There's more money than that
Okay.
that would be available. Right now, it's probably close to $1 million by the time you add them all up.
All right, so those numbers will appear
Yes,
later on.
yeah,
Okay, thank you.
okay, you're welcome. Anybody else in the room, Jonathan?
It doesn't appear so.
Okay. Comments by members? Anybody got anything else they want to add?
I just looked on the budget again, or the sheet that he sent out. Line item number 293 does say 14 feet by 14 feet overhead door, so that is included.
Okay, you found it?
Yeah, but the elevation is still wrong on the drawings. It should
Okay.
probably.
Okay, I'm corrected.
Yeah.
Steve, just one thing I wanted to bring up, just so that the public is aware. Jonathan has reached out with our grant writer to try to get some money from the federal government for this project. So I do thank him for reaching out to our constituents in the federal government and also at the state level to try to get some funding for this. So hopefully, we'll hear back soon from those sources.
That would be nice. It would help definitely
Mhm.
ease the tax burden for the residents. Okay, so if nobody has anything else, I'm gonna entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a
Motion to adjourn.
And all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you, everybody. See you next week.
Yeah,
Thank you, Jonathan.
of course.